All right, we're back with the Garlic Marketing Show live at Garlic Studios. I got my good friend Steve Gordon, $1 Million author of the $1 Million Author. Steve, thanks for being on.
Ryan, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
I'm so excited. Steve is not only a brilliant marketer, but amazing at creating books for people. And I think, we talk about YouTube, but also books are probably the number one authority piece. Most people don't do them right. Most people think about them wrong. And everyone came to me and it's like, Ian, how'd you write a book? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, Steve helped me a lot. And like knowing Steve and the guidance is so important and doing it the right way so you make money. I mean, if you want a book that's a bestseller, we'll talk about that. It's different than making a book with money.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right. Steve, you've been on before. We've got another episode. So let's talk a little bit about what does it mean to be $1 million author? Is it you're making $1 million from books, book sales?
So the book business itself is a bad business to be in because you're only going to make a few dollars for every copy that you sell. So it's great to think, oh, I'm going to write a book, we're going to sell all these copies, and we're going to make all this money. But the truth of the matter is, for most businesses, the best way to approach a book is to write a book that's going to attract clients to you. And those clients, as we've seen with our clients, those clients will come in droves, and that'll add 7 figures to your business easy. And
you say in droves. Give me an example. I know I've talked to some of your clients, but what does droves mean?
Well, so it really varies depending on the business. So we work with some real high-end consultants for whom 10 clients a year, if they're the right clients, they're selling 6 and 7 figure engagements. That's perfect. That's droves for them. And for other businesses, that means they're getting, 10, 20, 30 new clients a month. So it really just depends on the business.
And I mean, there's a lot of people in marketing watching this, and people are thinking, well, do I need to write another book? There's 8 billion books on marketing out there. Who should be writing a book?
So you want to think about this from the perspective of your ideal client, or what we call your $1 million reader. And that's the person who's sitting there suffering with a problem and they can't figure out how to solve it, and you've got the solution. And so, yeah, maybe there's another book out there on your topic, but nobody's yet written your book. They haven't written the one from your perspective with your unique experience and your unique take on it. We like to tell our clients, look, there's nothing new under the sun, but your clients are buying you. They want to hear your expression of how you're going to solve their problem.
And how do you make sure, part of the problem too, I know, like when I've talked to people that have authored books, it's like, well, people only read 10% of a book. Mm-hmm. How do you make sure you're writing a book that that person who you want to solve the problem is going to read that whole book? Because I mean, if it's someone with a 6 or 7 figure budget, they don't have much time.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that first of all. I mean, it's great when the prospects read your book, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you don't need them to read your book. So there's 4 different levels of credibility that come with writing a book, and the first is that you've written a book and someone just knows that you're an author. They don't even have a copy of the book. Maybe they've never seen it, but they know you're an author. That boosts your credibility a little bit. Next level is when they see that, hey, you've got a book, and maybe they've gotten a copy of it and not read it, but they've gotten a copy. It's sitting in their Kindle library or on their bookshelf somewhere. And the next level is where they've maybe read a little bit of it. And then the best level is where they've read the whole thing and they're coming to you on a sales call and they're quoting it chapter and verse, which is awesome. But even at that very lowest level, you'll still get clients because it's going to change the perception that people have of you in the marketplace. I had a great experience early on when I published my first book back I published it in 2014. This was about 2 years later. And I got on a Zoom call with a guy from the UK, and he got on the call and he said, and it's the strangest sales call ever, I got to tell you. He gets on there and he says, I've never read your book and I'm not going to read it. And I'm going, what in the world? And he said, I have your book. A buddy of mine gave it to me a couple of years ago. It's been sitting on my nightstand for 2 years. And I see it in the morning and I see it at night. And I know I need what it says on the cover. And I know you're my guy. I'm not going to read it. Can you help me? Easiest sale ever.
That's amazing.
Never read the book.
And think about, I mean, it's kind of weird, but it's on someone's nightstand for 2 years.
Oh, I don't know what that book saw. I mean, who knows?
But the power of that branding, because like day in, day and night, it's like, oh, I've got to talk to Steve. I got to talk to Steve. It's like having that Post-it note up there saying, oh, you've got to talk to Steve.
Well, that's the power of a book, particularly a physical book. I always encourage our clients, give out physical copies. Yeah, there's a little bit of an expense to it. You could take the lazy, easy way and just send PDFs, but we all have that folder on our computer where PDFs go to die.
Yeah.
When you send someone a physical copy of your book, you own real estate in their world. So I owned a little 5.5 inch by 8.5 inch piece of real estate on his nightstand. I had a little billboard there that I didn't pay for.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, a personalized billboard.
Right.
That's your ideal client. And so that came through a referral. And I think let's talk a second, because you have an amazing referral book. You're coming out with a new version of it. Because I think it's a brilliant book. It's 10 years old. You shouldn't be sending out CDs to people. We talked about that. But this book referral strategy, the simple book referral strategy, the referral kit that you talk about, tell me about that, because how do you manage that? How do you have that happen so that you're getting tons of referrals? Because no one knows how to ask for referrals.
Yeah. Well, so the thing that I discovered, and so before I wrote that book, back in 2012, about 2 years before I wrote the book, I was teaching a series of referral workshops. And I had gone and read all the books, and I was basically teaching the usual wisdom on referrals, which boils down to two things. Ask all your clients a lot, and then follow up with anybody that they refer until they buy or die.
Yeah.
Right? Simple, but most people don't do it. And so I taught that. We put about 300 business owners through that training over the course of a summer, and they all loved it. We got great reviews. And 6 months later, I started meeting with some of the folks who had gone through those seminars and asking them, well, what's happened? And I got to tell you, it was the most disappointing set of interviews I've ever had, because nobody had done anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why is that? My background's in engineering and technical stuff. I'm curious. I want to find out what's the disconnect here, because all of these people said, yeah, I know I need to ask all of my clients for referrals, but none of them did it. So why not? So as I dug into that, what I realized was they were holding back from asking because they were afraid that they were going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. They knew that showing up and saying, hey, Ian, I need some more clients. Who do you know that you can send to me, is like taking from that very valuable client relationship and taking even more value from it. So rightly, they didn't want to do that. Made them uncomfortable. So what I started looking at is, how can we re-engineer this process so that it's a giving process, not a taking process, so that you're positioned as an authority rather than as a salesperson when you're referred. And that's where the idea of this referral kit came. And we've kind of eliminated all of the other formats. So when I wrote the first book, you alluded to giving away audio CDs. I had one client that had great success for a long time, giving away audio CDs until they stopped putting CD players in cars. But there were a few other formats. But what we quickly found, and one of the ones I talk about in the book, is using a book as your referral kit. The referral kit's really just taking all of your best ideas, packaging them up in something that's easy to share so that your clients and your referral partners can share you. Well, a book is the very best way to do that because it has the most credibility of any form of packaged media. And so when I rewrite the new version of the book that's coming out, we're not mentioning any of those other things. It's write your book, because that's what people want to share.
Well, and can you explain to me the mechanism? Because I know it's going to be in the book, and there's going to be 1,000 other things. Because honestly, Steve's a great friend, and I love everything he does, but the book is really, really smart. I bought the book, he didn't give it to me, and I'm like, I've sent it to so many people, I'm like, just get past the CD thing and everything's great. I'm sorry, just giving a hard time. I'm trying to encourage him to rewrite the book. But, how does that referral kit mechanism work with the book?
Well, so it works in helping you position yourself a little bit differently. And so one of the things we coach all of our clients to do is to come up with what we call their mission. And so like if I was taking you through the process, I'd say, like, what's the garlic marketing mission that you're on? What's the video case story mission that you're on? And how can you describe that to clients? So like when I do it and I'm talking to our own clients, I say, look, I'm on a mission to transform the way that professional service people go do business development, because most of them are on this up and down roller coaster all the time, and I want to give them a really leveraged way that makes them feel good so they're authentic as they're doing business development. So our goal is to transform how all of these businesses get clients. And I know people that are in those types of businesses and they're doing this all the time.
Yeah.
We both know people we could go help. So who do you know? And the key thing here for everybody watching at home, like the key terminology is, hey, Ian, if you agree that you know some people like that, would you be willing to brainstorm with me who they are? Let's come up with 3 or 4 people and let's brainstorm together. And that's the key, because now you've given your client this vision of, okay, we're on this mission together. We're going to go help these people together, which is something they can get behind. Mm-hmm. It's not just how can I get you more business? It's now something they can get behind to go help people. You've given them an easy way to do it. We're going to give a gift of your book to these people, and you've not given them any homework. So instead of saying, hey, go think about, who we could share this with, you say, no, let's get together, let's brainstorm together.
Yeah.
And what we find is when our clients execute that, they get on average about 7 referrals every time they have that conversation.
Wow. 7 referrals. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you do that once a week and you get a nice lead flow.
Yeah, well, and the great thing about it is, people get really kind of nervous at first because you get 7 referrals, and out of those 7, 1 or 2 might be ready right now.
Yeah.
And the other 5 or 6 might not be, but that's okay. Most businesses aren't planting enough seeds with people who can become a client 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now. Mm-hmm. They're only focused on today. And so this allows you to do both. So you're going to get those ones that are ready right now, and they're going to become your client right away. They're going to love it because you're the one who wrote the book.
Yeah.
But you're also now getting introduced as the one who wrote the book to all of these other people who are going to buy in the future.
And put it on the nightstand table. And
exactly.
And yeah, I was just thinking, maybe I can make my book half into like a clock/book to make sure it goes there.
Yep.
And so, okay, people are excited about their books. Some people have a book idea, some people don't. I've talked to so many people about their book ideas. And, after working with you, and I've always had big book ideas, and everyone kind of has that thought leadership book. And I'm like, yeah, the thought leadership book's not going to make you any money. Tell me about your process for kind of making that plan for the book.
Well, so...
And this is where I'd like to talk about like the brief idea.
Sure, yeah. So, a lot of people come in with the idea that they want to write a big book where, they're going to go to a regular publisher and go through all of that. But the truth is, most businesses don't have an idea for a book that has that kind of market. Really, the best thing that you can do is write a book that will get you clients and get you clients right away.
Yeah.
It's going to make you money now.
Yeah.
And as it makes you money, if you still want to write that big thought leadership book down the line, it's going to fund all of that because your business is going to get multiplied. So we take folks through a process. We call it the $1 Million Book Blueprint. And we're going to, I'm sorry, let me do that again.
Yeah.
We take you through a process called the $1 Million Book Brief, where just in a couple of hours, we're going to help you hone in on the right idea. We call it the $1 Million concept, the real core concept of your book. We're going to do that after we've done a deep dive on your $1 Million reader. That's the person that you can solve a big, expensive problem for, that they're going to pay you a lot of money. We want to understand how they think, and then we're going to help you figure out what's the perfect book concept to go with that. We're even going to, in that time, lay out a 1-page outline, a roadmap for your book, so that you'll have the chapters laid out and kind of have a sense for how we're going to use the book to pre-sell those clients as they read it. We're going to be able to lay out your marketing strategy, so we've got a marketing strategy that you can have confidence in, and even develop a few titles in that time. So you've got 4 or 5 titles to work with.
And I can't, it's doing this for so long. I meet people and talk to people, and I'm like, man, I wish I'd had that 15 years ago. Like that would save me so much time and money.
I wish I had that 15 years ago.
I know, because it's like it makes writing when you know who you're talking to specifically and their specific problems, it transforms how you're writing your book. I mean, because otherwise that's where you go meandering, like, oh, I need to say this, and I need to say this, and then I need to talk about my grandma, and then I need to talk about my dog, and how my dog influenced my grandma to teach me about marketing, and you go all over the place. But now you do this, and it provides such clarity. Where do people get stuck on that clarity piece? Because obviously, if it was so easy to be clear, everyone would just do it.
Yeah. Well, I think often people are too close to it. And you need a thinking partner where you can say some things and bounce some ideas, and then they can help you identify what's most valuable. And so, I mean, you can do that. That's why masterminds are so popular, right? Because you can show up and share ideas and bounce them off and get feedback. And when you're doing a book, you need that trusted thinking partner to help you through it.
How long does that process take you all to do that?
So it's funny, we've refined and refined and refined this now over 10 years. And we've gotten it down to 4 days, 2 hours a day. We tried doing it all in one day. That's a lot of hard thinking for people to do, and it's really actually less productive that way.
And this is the writing process.
No, well, this is actually where we unpack all of our ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a process we call unpacking your ideas or your IP. And when we unpack your IP, we're looking for all the best ideas that you have that help clients. And like I said, a lot of times people are too close to it. They can't identify this. And so we're going to meet on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 2 hours each day, and go through a very structured, proven process to extract all of the ideas out of your head, get them organized right in front of you, so you're watching as we're doing this and you're speaking into it. But at the end of those 4 days, we're walking away with a complete detailed book outline that we're then handing to a professional writer that we've trained that can then take all of your ideas. So you're the author. We're taking all your ideas now and putting them on the page with a professional writer who's going to make you sound great.
How's that different from a traditional ghostwriting process?
Well, so ghostwriting is great, but a lot of people get frustrated with it. And they get frustrated with it often because when you work with a ghostwriter, you're working with a writer, not with a team. When we take one of our authors through this, we start not with the writer, but we start with a book strategist who's there to help you extract that IP, to unpack it, to put it in the right order. So, because really what we're doing is we're creating a document that's going to pre-sell clients. So that's a strategy and sales function. And it's also got to align with your business strategy for the next 3, 5, 10 years. So it's supportive of that. And that's usually not something that's the strength of a writer. And so when people work with a ghostwriter, they get a little frustrated sometimes because they're having to do all the strategy. The other thing that I think frustrates people with the ghostwriting process is it's typically done piecemeal. So that ghostwriter will interview you and go write a chapter, and then they'll come back and you'll read the chapter and they'll interview you and they'll write the next chapter. This can go on for months. And I tell all of our clients, like this book thing that you've been worried about for a long time, you've probably been thinking about it for years, it's not a project that, like, you don't want to be like writing a book, you want to have a book. It's far more profitable to have a book than to write a book. Yeah. And we want to get you to the having stage and out of the writing stage. So we've compressed all this down. Instead of spreading it out over months and doing it piecemeal, we're going to do it all at once. Your thinking is going to be better, frankly, because each of those days builds on itself. And you get clearer and clearer as you go. And then the writer is going to be able to do focused and complete work. And so in about 3.5, 4 weeks, you're going to be looking at a finished first draft. And that's kind of what we measure in terms of, like, the thing that stops most people is books die in the first draft phase. They never get a completed first draft. We want to get you there in 30 days. So we're over that hump.
And, okay, so now you've written the book, and how long does it take to edit a book now?
So editing's really easy. Our process is what we call no homework editing. And the idea there is that once your first draft is done, we're going to send it to you. We're going to give you 2-3 days to review it. We just want you to read through it and make some notes to yourself on what you want to change in each chapter. And then we're going to get on a video call and we're going to go through chapter by chapter. And you're just going to tell us what to change. So you don't have to fire up Word and track changes and all that craziness. You don't have to sit, print a copy and sit with a red pen and try and grade it. You're just going to talk through it because honestly, we work with only business owners. We only write business books. Every one of the authors we work with is already super busy.
Yeah.
So it's got to be fast, so it only takes about an hour and a half to go through.
I can't tell you, the editing process for me, it was torture. It was torture. I mean, not with you, obviously didn't do that, but just doing it myself, it was like, oh my God. And by the end, I'm like, I really hate this book. I'm done. I'm like 95% done. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I wish, once again, I would have done that. So I also did a launch, bestseller launch. How important is the launch to the results for a business book?
So the launch is important, but you don't need to be a bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think those are two separate things, and we separate them. We do, for most of our clients, we do a bestseller launch for those that want that. That's a vanity thing.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you maybe a little bit of credibility, but I'll be honest, becoming an Amazon bestseller is not difficult. We've taken one of our clients to be Amazon bestseller in a category that was appropriate for their book with 3 book sales, right? So
Yeah.
if you don't know that that's the way it works, it looks pretty impressive, but the minute that you know that's the way it works, you will never look at an Amazon bestseller the same again.
Yeah.
So, so that has no bearing on whether or not you're going to be successful, but we take all of our authors through that because many of them want it. Where you make the real money is with the book launch itself. And we've developed a process that is unique to us. We call it the inverted viral launch. And it's a little bit different. It's actually the exact opposite of what most people do. Most people want to get the book out as far and wide as they can, as fast as they can. And what ends up happening is you get your book, which is really a great business development piece, in the hands of all these strangers that don't know you, don't trust you, aren't likely to buy. You don't even know if they have any intent yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to do you any good on the bottom line. So we take a little bit of a different approach and we start closer to home. We start with the people that have been in your pipeline for the last 12, 18, 24 months, that maybe they just need that one little thing to push them over the edge. And then we want to get it to your current clients because they're your biggest fans.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
they're going to want to refer you to everyone that they know, right? Because now they get to go brag about the fact that they're working with the one who wrote the book.
That's something that's definitely happened a lot, and that's been a big benefit because it's what's Cialdini's what's the weapon of influence that he talks about is consistency.
Yeah.
It's like I did this thing and look at how good I did.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. So we go one rung out from there and we go to everybody in your network, all of the people you would consider referral partners or whatever. And so many of the people we work with are like, oh yeah, I've got these people, they've never referred me before. I send them all kinds of business. I'm so frustrated by that. Well, the minute you introduce the book, now they have an easy way to share you that is no risk. And I'm sure you found this. I know when your book came out, we shared it with 12,000 people on our email list.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And those are because that's so easy to do, people will jump at the chance of doing it.
Yep.
And the thing that we've observed in all of this is that so many business owners have been thinking about writing a book for years. It's this little sort of aspirational thing in their head, right?
Yeah.
When you go and write your book, they've been thinking about it. They're looking up, aspiring to it. Now you're up here on top of the mountain ahead of them.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So you're the leader. They're looking up to you, and they're super excited because you're where they want to be.
It's funny. I did see that. Everyone's like, "Well, how'd you do it? What'd you do?" And that, book launch, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it was like right away. Everyone's like, "I need to write my book."
Yeah.
And now no one has.
Well, but that level of excitement gets them willing to share it during that launch phase, which generates so much interest and so much hype and so much buzz and so much business.
It's amazing. So, part of the thing too is now my book's launched and I'm not marketing it as well. I'm doing, some podcasts, What do you consider? What do you do after the book launch to make sure it's getting in the right hands of people?
You're not in The Hangover, are you?
I was for a little bit there.
So that's really common. So we don't see this with our clients, but we work with a lot of folks who have either written the book themselves or they've maybe gone through another company, and they put all this effort in. Sometimes they've spent a year or two writing the book.
Yeah.
And all that energy, and they get to the end, and as you said, you're just kind of done with it.
You're done with it. You're like, I don't want.
Yeah, and then you go through the launch, and that takes a ton of energy too to get that going, and they're exhausted, and they never thought about, what am I going to do after this? They don't have a plan for what comes next. So as we're working with our client, the very last piece of the process is we design what we call the book ATM, and this is the thing that they're going to do after the book launch, because the book launch will last 30, 45, maybe 60 days. But you need a way to market the book every week, consistently, forever.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will tell you that there's a one-size-fits-all. There's like a perfect way to do a book. And I've worked with enough business owners to know that that just absolutely doesn't work. So we've got 9 different strategies that we recommend. We're never going to give any client 9 things to do because they'll pull their hair out. But we're going to look for 1 or 2 of those that fit the personality of the business owner. Because in a small, closely held business, how you market is so much related to your personality and what makes you feel comfortable. So it's got to match that, and it's got to match the capabilities that you have within the business. And so I'll give you a great example. If I'm working with a financial advisor that doesn't have much of an online presence, but they do a lot of great work locally and they're in the community and all that, I'm never going to tell them they should go do a Facebook book funnel, because they're going to crash and burn and fail. They don't have that capability. They'd have to go build it, and that'll take them years.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to give them my referral strategy, which they're going to run on and never need to learn any other marketing for the rest of their career.
Yeah. I mean, and it works.
Yeah.
Obviously, it works. So, what getting started with you? What's the next step if someone wants to write their book?
So the first thing we recommend is you go to our website, and you'll find a link there where you can book a bestseller strategy session. And that's really an opportunity for us to sit down with you and evaluate your book idea with you and give you kind of an honest assessment of what we think the impact can be to your book. So we want to know a little bit about your book idea. We want to know a little bit about your business, what your goals are. And almost all of the people that we work with have been thinking about writing a book for a long time. I want to know, what are the things that have kept you from getting that book done? Because if we don't address those right now and get rid of those roadblocks, you're not going to get your book done now. So we want to make sure we address those as well. And that really is going to give you a setup for success, and you're going to have a really good assessment of whether or not you've got a viable book idea. So that's the place to start.
Gotcha. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. We'll also put a link to the YouTube channel. So make sure to check out, because you've got a ton of great YouTube videos and you've got a ton of information, a ton of great podcasts, and like, this stuff works, right? That's, we have people on the Garlic Marketing Show because this stuff works. Steve, a $1 million author, where else should people follow you besides YouTube?
So you can find us at milliondollarauthor.io, and really you can find everything there. You can get a free copy of the $1 Million Book, which is my latest book there, links to my other books, the podcast, everything.
Awesome. So we'll put a link to all that in the show notes, and make sure to reach out to Steve, go comment on his YouTube videos, tell him what you learned. And thank you all for taking Steve Gordon and I on your journey. This has been Ian Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.